Hello and welcome or welcome back. I'm Bo. Win is not here right now, but we are going to get into the monthly closeout, which for us is going to be the month of September, which is August 23rd to September 19th, because we are paycheck budgeters, and the first paycheck of the month is the month that contains the first, because those have the big bills for us. So we're just going to get right into it. We are in here trying to find some kind of stability so that the kids have a relatively good example, certainly better than the example that Wins and my parents set for us. I don't know, grammar's hard, English is hard. It's not good at being a language. So let's get right into it. His paycheck, we budgeted $3,002. We actually used $1,948. This is not a problem. This is just us realizing that it would probably work out better if we used a different combination of paychecks of his. This is all us budgeting money that we already have. We are not projecting with this. We're just sometimes shuffling around which paycheck from the past we're going to use. I keep track of that on these handy dandy Post-its that I just put it on the back of my budget calendar, our budget calendar. Sorry, I keep saying my, like I'm the only person who's budgeting here. I'm just the person who writes it all down. So keep track of all our paychecks on Post-its on the back of the budget calendar so that we know when we're going to use the paycheck. We don't always go in order, and that's okay. We use the paychecks that best match what our situation is, because we're trying to avoid making things like having to save up and then roll over and, not have enough or something, or take out a savings. We're just trying to avoid that. So we're just using paychecks we already have, but sometimes that changes based on what's happening. So all that to say, having less pay is not actually a problem. We're just saving the paychecks one of the paychecks that was going to be here, we're just saving that for next month, and that's fine. And then my paychecks was $4,937, because this is actually 3 paychecks for me, because I wanted to send more money to Win student loans. And also we wanted to get this app called Fabulous, which is for people with ADHD, geared towards them. I mean, everyone can technically use it. Anyone could use it, but it's geared towards the needs of people with ADHD specifically. So we are thinking about buying that. We're in a $2 trial period right now. We'll see how it goes. And then we got $300 from other income, $2,109 from savings, which, that and the other income is more than budgeted, but that's okay. We're just dealing with, we're dealing with things as they come. And then rollover was actually $2,252, not the $1,600. I just put this in as a placeholder because I hadn't closed out the previous paycheck before. So that's part of the problem with writing your budgets too far ahead of time, is if you have rollover, you don't necessarily know what that is yet. But that's fine. So the total inflow was $11,546, which is more than budgeted, and that is A-okay. And then we are not investing right now. That is not where we are in our journey. But then we go to Win's spending. So this is his checking account. Rent was $1,350 as budgeted. Kid bills, which is the kids' health insurance and copays, that's $263 as budgeted. Internet $66 as usual. S&M collections $50 as usual. Electric bill was $210 this month. As budgeted. Adventures got $40 and miscellaneous got $60. So I don't think we actually specified. So adventure money, what this actually is the boys have the opportunity to earn this as allowance. That is not a guarantee that they will earn this as allowance. If whatever they don't earn, though, goes into Wynn's savings account and just waits for us to have adventures with the kids. And then that's the money that we'll spend on doing fun things with them. It's not money that they necessarily earned to have like cash in their hands. But it'll pay for fun things. So they'll still get to enjoy it. They just won't have the cash because they didn't act right enough to get it as cash. And I thought that was a good compromise. Of course, we're not going to have adventures if they're still not acting right. We'll just save it until they're acting well enough to have adventures, because that's how that goes. So the subtotal for Wynn spending is $2,039, completely as budgeted. A-okay with that. Leaves us with $9,507. And then for his spending, was under budget, but that is because we used a different paycheck. So it's okay. He'll catch up again. It's fine. But for kids, it was $208 as opposed to the $808 that was budgeted. Personal loan got the $476 that was budgeted. His wedding fund got $486 as budgeted. Gifts got $167 as budgeted, and then summer pay only got $260 instead of the $667 that was budgeted. But again, that's just because he used a smaller paycheck. It's okay. It's really okay. And then the subtotal for his savings is $1,597 for the month, which is still not bad. It's still not bad. That leaves us with $7,910. And then we get to my spending. So my monthly bills, $61, which is less than budgeted. I'm pretty sure what happened was I thought Netflix would have more tax than it did. But either way, it's okay. His debt, I sent $2,161. This is why I brought in an extra paycheck, so that I could send way more to his student loans. I feel super great about this. I really want to aggressively pay it down as long as I'm in this temporary promotion that I'm in right now. And then dining out, we actually stand in budget for the whole month. So proud of us. So proud of us. And then groceries and bulk was $520 as budgeted. We went over budget on transportation, $163 instead of the $120 that was budgeted. That is because Wynn ended up taking some rideshare, which, I mean, it happens sometimes. He doesn't drive, so if he's running late for work or something like that, he might take an Uber or a Lyft. It's okay. We'll make it work. And then health got $650, which is, of course, significantly bigger than what we budgeted, but that is because we want to get the lifetime subscription to the Fabulous app, which we have not done yet, but we're planning to once our $2 introductory little subscription is done. We thought about doing like a 3-month subscription, 3 months at a time or 1 month at a time, but when we looked at how much the lifetime subscription was, it was way worth it. If we just stick with it for like a couple years, it'll have paid for itself. So we're pretty sure that we're just going to do that. And then home shopping got $50 as budgeted. Birthdays got $10 as budgeted. Clothing and shoes, we did go over on that because we got Wynn another pair of shoes. So that was $144 instead of the $80 that was budgeted. Pet care got the $30 that was budgeted. Personal spent $465 as opposed to the $100 that was budgeted. Of course, for these numbers, you see the things that have the little envelopes next to them. These are not the actual amounts that were spent, but if the number is larger, that means that's how much we went over the amount that was already in the envelope plus the amount that was budgeted, if that makes sense. So this reflects that I went over budget in transportation by $43. I didn't spend exactly $163, but I allocated $120 to be added to what was already in there, and then I went over budget by $43. So yeah, that's how that goes. These are the envelope categories right here are the only categories where the money rolls over into the next paycheck if there's some left over. But then the subtotal for all my spending here is $4,312, which of course is significantly larger than what I budgeted. But again, I sent way more to win student loan than I originally budgeted. So I'm okay with that. So that leaves us with $3,598. And then we get to my savings. So this is my saving account. Most of this was on track. So 173 as budgeted for registration and license. 370 went to subscriptions instead of the 358 that was budgeted. Phone got $38 and we hadn't budgeted anything, but that's okay. Insurance got the $475 that was budgeted. Car maintenance got the $112 that was budgeted. Christmas got $91 instead of the $62 that was budgeted, and that is because I do a little $500 savings challenge where I'm pulling playing cards, and that determines how much I save each week. So I did go over budget with that, but that is 100% fine. I really want to have this funded before Christmas, obviously. The goal is to have it funded by the end of November, so that we can do Christmas shopping. And then my school fund got $230, which is a little more than budgeted, and that's a-okay. So subtotal, I saved $1,489, which is more than budgeted, and that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Things were distributed a little differently than I originally budgeted, but that's okay. That's not actually a problem. And that leaves us with $2,109. So then we go to savings spent. So LastPass, which is a password manager that Wynn and I use, that was $40, which is more than budgeted, but that's just because I forgot how much tax was going to be on the $36 subscription. So that is not actually a problem. Had the money, it was fine. And then car insurance was $1,937. That is for 6 months car insurance. I paid it a little early so I could use my credit card, and then I just paid it off immediately, just so that I could get that 2% cash back. Get those little extra dollars where we can, y'all. And PSA, again, not financial advice. I use credit cards, but you see no credit card bills here because I use my credit cards like they're a debit card. So every week when I go through all my transactions, I pay off my credit cards in full every single week. I don't play that game. I don't pay interest. I did carry a balance for a while last year, but that was because I was preparing to sell my house in Minnesota. So I had to do a lot of maintenance things, and I didn't have, at that time, a fully funded emergency fund. So I ended up running up some credit card debt, and then I just paid it off when I sold the house and then didn't get any more credit card debt. Because that's really, to me, it's like throwing money down the toilet, essentially, paying interest on credit cards. So keep that in mind when you see me pulling in, like if I cash out my credit card cash back, like if I use my credit card cash back or whatever, keep in mind I'm not paying any interest on my credit cards. I'm just reaping the benefits, which is what I suggest everyone do. If you can handle paying off your credit cards in full every month so that you don't pay interest. If you cannot do that, don't use credit cards, please. Please, 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 please don't use credit cards if you can't pay them off in full every month. If you can't treat them like debit cards and spend less than you make, please don't use credit cards at all, because it's a dangerous, slippery slope. My mom, for example, has never met a credit card she couldn't max out. She constantly had maxed out credit cards. She constantly had past due balances, extra fees, overdraft fees, because she had auto pay on and it got rejected by the bank, like all this stuff. She made so much money. And then she ended up asking to borrow money from me because her bank account was overdrawn when her bills were due. And that is so dangerous. That's so dangerous. And that is what I'm aiming, and Win as well. We're both aiming to set the kids up better so that we don't have to ask to borrow money from them. Because that was so sad. And I knew how much my mom made. Like, she was transparent with that at least. This was back in 2004. So in 2004, sorry, this is a total tangent. But I kind of want you to know what this was like, right? Just a little insight into part of why we do things the way we do in this budget. So in 2004, my mom asked me to help her organize her statements and everything for her taxes. I think she paid me like $50 to organize all her receipts and statements and everything. And she had a couple of shoe boxes in her china cabinet just full of bank statements and receipts and stuff, just shoe boxes with all the stuff thrown in it. So I had to like play detective and like organize all this and look through everything and match things up, put it in order of date, like all that stuff. It was an undertaking. I earned that $50. But when I was looking at her bank statements, I saw she had over $600 in overdraft fees that year. She made over $80,000. She made over $80,000. None of her kids were living at home. I'm the youngest, and I had already moved out. None of her kids lived at home. It was just her and her husband. She made $80,000 a year. I don't know how much he made, but she made $80,000 that year. She was broke. She asked to borrow $100 from me not too long after that. I think it was like 6 months after that, she asked to borrow $100. It's wild. It's wild. She had so many overdraft fees, so many past due, like the late fees. She had late fees. She had overdraft fees. She had all that crap. But she made so much money because it's not about how much money you make. If you're just spending more, if you're spending more money than you make, what does it matter how much you make? It doesn't help you because you end up spending so much in all these extra fees that it eats up the difference. You shouldn't be broke when you're making $80,000 a year in 2004. You shouldn't be broke. You shouldn't go bankrupt. This is the lesson that we want to teach the kids. This is the lesson that we want to teach anyone who is unfamiliar with how to plan your life. Because really, that's what this is. This is planning our lives. Show me where your money goes, and I'll show you where your priorities are. What does this tell you about us? What does your budget tell you about you? Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when you budget next. I am going to finish this actual video. I've been real preachy today. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so The last two things were my school fund for $36 and spending on the kids. I think this was just the tail end of back to school stuff and like a couple of outfits for the kids, a couple more outfits for the kids for $96. So that subtotal for savings spent is $2,109. That is all that was left in the budget. So that is a zero-based budget because every dollar that came in had a plan on where to go. And just to double check the numbers, which I always do before I record, I always check my numbers, or try to at least. The $2,109 that came from savings is the same amount that was actually spent in savings. So we know the maths, y'all, the maths. But yeah, that is learning a little about me and about my life, and also about, hopefully, this will teach you something about you as well. Because really, your money should reflect your priorities. You should spend your money on the things that are most important to you. And sometimes that's stability. Sometimes that's fun. Sometimes it's your future. But it should never be with regret. Know where your money's going. Do it on purpose. And follow your dreams and your priorities. I love you so much. Never forget that you deserve financial stability. And I hope you have a great day on purpose. Bye.